Welcome to Rack of the Week 218. We're going to go back to our roots, just something simple. We're going to look at a rack of straight pool I played recently. I want to say hello to my newest supporters on YouTube and Patreon, Ivan and Band Basics. You can see my supporters' names on the screen. Thank you, everyone. And if you're not subscribed, you want to do that because there's going to be some big announcements coming up in the next few weeks, some special things going on in June, and a new product coming up in a couple weeks. So hit the subscribe and like button, if you please. Thank you. Let's look at this rack. I've talked about this in the past. This is a really good example. This is probably one of my best racks of straight pool I've ever played. A little bit of a change of mindset, being more optimistic. You've really got to be an optimist to play good straight pool. Let's take a look at the break shot, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Standard break shot. Inside angle, the object ball is a little, almost a diamond distance from the rack. So this is top spin, maybe a little bit of left spin, I hope. Let's see what happens. Okay, no, that's right spin. That was right spin. So with the cue ball all that up that far, kind of curved to the bottom rail and then back up in this direction rather than turning around out of the corner. I like that. Had a little bit of extra speed. Not especially happy with the rack. You saw me kind of point at the table. This is an impossible rack. I used to be, I would look at this rack and I'd be like, man, this is ridiculous. Two balls tied up in the upper corner. That is problem number one. Now, if you get two balls that are tied up down in the rack area, on the other half of the table, like these two balls, that's not such a big deal. But how are you going to get to those balls? Typically, you'd like a shot into this pocket that you can cut and then send the cue ball this way and open up those balls in some fashion. That's kind of trivial to deal with in straight pool. But you got two balls in the how are you going to get the cue ball up there? So that's the initial thing that I'm thinking about. Other than that, I've got a ball here that could potentially be a break ball. You've got balls in the rack area to move. This is a pretty wide open rack. There's nothing. There's no big clusters in the rack area to deal with, and there's no other problems that are that huge other than these two. There's a minor problem, but these two balls up here are a major problem. And initially, I would be looking at this rack thinking, well, this is hopeless. But when you play straight pool, you have got to be positive. You've got to be an optimist. Not every rack is going to open wide and give you break ball options and everything's just hunky-dory. In fact, you're going to be doing well if 50% of your racks are that way. That's what makes straight pool the hardest game in the world. And you have to be an optimist. You have to look at the rack and say, okay, maybe the chances are a little bit low, but let's give it our best shot. And if I don't get out, I'll play it safe. So you've just got to have that attitude that says, I'm going to give it my best shot. And if it works out, I'm going to be able to clear this rack. And won't that be something? So that's the attitude you've got to have. So I'm looking at this rack and I'm trying to think, how am I going to get there? And what are my first shots? I've got a shot on the 3-ball right now, but I don't have an angle on the 3 right now to go into these two balls. And even if I did, I don't have an insurance follow-up that's good. It's a little bit too difficult to take on. The 9-ball is a straightforward shot, and I want to bring the cue ball across table because then I'll have a shot on this ball or this ball or this 3-ball. One of those, depending on where the cue ball stops. Because I will want to kind of nudge these balls just a little bit eventually. And then so what happened there was, now I'm much closer to the 3-ball, and I have an angle that I can go to the rail with a little bit of left English and knock the 1-ball away. So rather than shooting the 3-ball from up here with a poor angle, now I'm closer with the proper angle. So you've got to prioritize. I know what my priorities are, but you've got to set one aside and shoot the other. So in this case, I got an angle on the 3. Okay, let's deal with this problem. Don't even think about these two balls up here. Let's just deal with one problem at a time. So because of where the cue ball landed, I can now deal with this problem. So let's do that. Then we'll reassess and come up with a plan to deal with these two balls up table. So that's part of being an optimist. Just deal with one thing at a time. So by compartmentalizing in that way, I can just put all of my attention on this shot, the shot that's ahead of me. Okay, that worked out pretty well, but the cue ball nestled up against the 5, so I don't have a good shot. As a matter of fact, I don't have a shot on the 1 ball either. I do have a shot on this stripe, and that's the only shot that I have. So just putting all my efforts into this, the cue ball is naturally going to go this way. I think the cue ball is going to hit the 8 ball here. And that's why I hit it with that speed, because after it hits the 8, then I'll have a shot on this stripe in this pocket. But that didn't work out. I actually came kind of flirted a little bit with scratching there. But now I'm looking at so I'm reevaluating again. I've had 2 shots where I've had to just put all my efforts into making the shot and then decide what to do. And then reevaluate what my options are after that. So most people are going to, at this point, are going to look at this and say, good thing I didn't scratch. Now I've got an easy shot on the 1. Let's shoot the 1 and come up with a shot to deal with these balls. But I know from my rack analysis that right after the break shot, I still have to deal with these balls. I need a shot to get up there. Well, guess what? I've got it right now with the 13 ball. I mentioned that what you're looking for to open up these 2 balls is you want a shot into this pocket so that the cue ball can go to this rail and this way. You don't want to go straight into these balls because you can get tied up, or you can go through them and scratch, or you can hit the 8 ball, on the side and scratch. You want a shot where you can bring the cue ball to the head rail and then into those balls. That's your best chance to open them up and not scratch. Well, guess what? This is an extension of that. See? So rather than shooting a ball into this pocket, it's this pocket, but I'm on the same route to the head rail and open them up. So take a look at your angle, pick a spot on this head rail you want to get to, and you don't want to use a lot of spin because it makes it harder to judge. Just adjust your Q-tip position from top to bottom. So I'm shooting just a little bit above center so I can kind of get this angle, and I'm picking a spot on this rail that'll get me to this spot. And how unlucky can you get? I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I hit those balls right on the nose, and this is the reward I get. I can't, it might look like it, but I can't get enough of this ball to pocket that cleanly. Maybe if the cue ball was close, I could hit it soft and kind of make the 4 ball go in off the rail. But I'm like, you got to be kidding me. After that shot, and now they're still not open, and I've got to do it again. Well, guess what? How are you going to get through this rack? The only way to get through this rack is to be an optimist. You just have to think positively. And again, it's because if I don't get those balls open, I can play safe. That's all because of that backup plan, you can just put all of your efforts into being an optimist and getting there. So now I've got a shot on the 5. Really, that's my only shot. Let's shoot the 5. And I believe I'm coming over for the 1. I wouldn't have to. You could bring the cue ball above those. No, I went over for the 1. Okay. So I'm trying to remember what I did here. Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember now. So I'm like, okay, I don't have an immediate opportunity to get at those balls. I just looked at, would there be a way to shoot one of these balls in the side and get an angle on the 14 to follow straight forward and open up those balls? That's a lot to ask. I don't like that. I've got a shot where I can cut the 2 ball. I do have a shot on the 11 in the side, and I could knock this ball over, and then maybe I'll get a shot on something from there. So I'm just evaluating my options, and finally I decide I've got to shoot the 2 ball because I can bump this ball up. This will stay here as a break shot, and then I'll have a shot on the 8 ball next. Well, that's why I decide to shoot the 2 ball, just a little shot, a little controlled shot. And it didn't work out. I don't have a shot on the 8. I don't have a shot on the 1. As a matter of fact, the only shot that I have, and how often does this happen, is on my break ball. So I've got to shoot my break ball. Now, what am I going to break the rack with? So things just seem to be getting worse, but you got to remain an optimist. So I'm just remaining calm, walking around, looking at the table. I'm looking at this again. If I can get the cue ball here, can I baby this ball and make it go in off the rail? Yeah, maybe I can, but what's my follow-up shot? I don't really have anything to follow up after that. Once again, being an optimist means just deal with the shot that's in front of you. I'll worry about a break shot later. If I don't get a break shot, I'll play safe. So I've got a plan. Can you see what I've decided to do? I've got a trouble ball now. I created a trouble ball, but this is the worst spot on the table by putting this 11 against the rail over here by the side pocket. But I've decided, I saw a plan that I can deal with the trouble ball and deal with these two balls in the very next shot. And that is, I'm going to shoot this, shoot my break ball, bring the cue ball over here. I want to get close to straight. If I can get, not necessarily straight, I want to be able to get the ball off the rail. But then from this position, I can shoot the 8 ball here, and then I have a 2-rail route to deal with those balls. So, is that a high percentage plan? No, it's probably pretty low percentage, but it's the only way I see to get through the rack. So just deal with it. Just do that. Just do that. Just deal with that. Just the shot in front of you. Be an optimist. If it doesn't work out, you can play safe. So I took a look at my angle. Make sure I get that angle. Now, from here, I think it's going to be hard to try and get to come above these balls. I would rather do that. But it's real easy to play the tighter route and come into the bottom of these balls. And I'm just going to, hope that I don't scratch and I'll get a shot on one of those balls. Give it some speed. It's a natural route. You can see how easy it would be to scratch following through that ball. And this has not turned out ideally. I've got a shot on this 4 ball, but it's a back cut, and the cue ball is going to go flying around the table, so that's no good. The 6 ball is off the rail, so I need to shoot a stop shot on the 6. I have a very, very slight angle. Got it. Just make sure you shoot this ball past the points of the side pocket, and it'll go in. You see how it was a little bit farther from the rail when it went in the pocket than it was up here, and that's because you're just shooting it past the points of the side pocket. And now I actually have a plan. I looked at this all right. I looked at it real quickly. I've got a slight angle on the 4. I can go to the head rail and just come straight at the 14 because I want a straight in shot on the 14. Then I can shoot this 4 ball over here, and I can come forward and use the 1 ball as a below the rack break shot. That's not an unreasonable plan, especially given how difficult this rack was. So what do? Just be an optimist. Just execute the shot that's in front of you. Don't live in the future. The future doesn't exist. You only have the shot in front of you, and you get that by being an optimist about what you're able to accomplish at the table. And I can shoot that shot, I can shoot this shot, and then I can shoot that shot. So let's just do that. So I got this angle. I have a slight angle. I'm cutting this ball slightly to my left, so I'm not going to roll forward. I'm going to go to the rail and straight up stay close to this ball. Don't get over here. Stay close to it, and that way you have a higher chance of getting a sharper angle to go into the pack. So mission accomplished. That's one of the best racks I think I ever played in straight pool, because from the beginning, it looked impossible. How are you going to open up those balls up table? One shot at a time, be an optimist. Just deal with the shot that's in front of you. So this one, this isn't the best break shot to ever have. I'm cueing over the rack a little bit. You don't want to use any outside English, because if you put left English on this and hit it hard, you could spin right around that rack and not even hit it. I am going to use some draw, but it's really not going to draw much because you're hitting it so hard it just shortens off the rail. So what's important here is cut the ball cleanly with a lot of speed. No, that wasn't a whole terrible lot of speed, and it's a good thing I didn't, because if I hit it harder, I would have scratched right here. So this is about as good as you can expect from that break shot. If you can draw it a little bit more and hit the corner ball, sometimes you can come to the side rail and up, but that's not the case here. This is ideal. I'm looking at this as ideal because all I got to do is pocket the 3 and the cue ball naturally goes over here. Then I can get rid of an up table ball, and I have enough balls open now to continue the run. And that's this week's Rack of the Week. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Remember to subscribe and stay tuned. There's some announcements coming, and next week will be something other than straight pool. So that'll be fun, and I'll see you next week on Rack of the Week. Bye.